What is up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Jacob Turner. He's Andrew Jones, and AJ, we are here for the final UNC football show of the season. And let me start out with this, AJ. I've only not worn a polo shirt on one other UNC football show this year. That was the bye week episode. And I decided I'm going with the tee today because it's bowl season. And I'm opting out of wearing a polo. It just like every player in the country is opting out of a bowl game or transferring into the portal right now. I'm opting out of wearing a polo for the final bowl game podcast. Just want to let everybody know that real quick.
You're not so indirectly throwing some shade at me because I wear tees a lot. I wear whatever I'm wearing here in my office.
It's more of a me thing.
Full disclosure, I've got a chair here. I call it my wife's chair. It's an old family chair that she'll come into my office when she decides we're going to have 3 minutes of husband and wife time. She'll sit there and talk to me. Then I tell her, you got to go. I got stuff to do. Shoot, go on. And sitting on that chair right now are only 3 shirts plus my 4 shirts is a t-shirt, plus my Orioles sweatshirt that I walk in, get my steps in. One of them is a button-down shirt that has been in that position now for a good 3 weeks.
I got one shirt right here hanging from my closet door.
Now, there's actually, I have a Carolina blue polo shirt that my wife bought me several years ago. And for obvious reasons, I don't really wear it very often.
Yeah.
I have no Carolina gear because I don't roll that way. But we're very sensitive about wearing Carolina colors covering games on these videos. But I think when we record the basketball one, I'm going to put the Carolina blue one on.
I like
just
that.
To change it up.
I wear Carolina blue every once in a while.
But, I wear this a lot. Like I have a lot of variations of T-shirts like this I wear a lot. And I don't wear anything that's with prints on it. Like if I have an Orioles T-shirt, I'm not going to wear an Orioles T-shirt doing this. I got to keep it neutral right here. Yeah, I have it there, and I have my high school. It's my goodie bag from our reunion from my high school in Alexandria, Virginia, which does not exist anymore, which I'm writing a book about, by the way.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. And we haven't really talked about that, but
the season takes a lot of time. The season takes a lot of time, and I can't grind. I really want to do it this time of year when I had a couple of pockets after signing day, but I'm not going to be able to. Too damn busy.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. And real quickly, since we're talking shirts right now, I'm wearing Swamp Dog Outfitters shirt. Check him out. One of my best friends, good friends, do some work for him as well. He actually owns the company, been around for a while, doing some really good things. Just check him out. No sponsor. I need to talk to him, see if he's interested. But the pocket tees that he sells, if I can get the logo in there, fantastic. I'll give him a little free shout out there.
We do have room for sponsors too. We're talking to some people as well that reached out. And if you're someone who has a setup at the Dean Dome, I will be back in touch with you. I've been ridiculously swamped.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't sleep the other night. So I was awake from 6:30 Wednesday morning till I went to bed Thursday night.
Yeah.
So
Wednesday was brutal.
Been very, very busy. That was just brutal.
National signing day and then a 9 p.m. basketball game is about the worst combo you can have.
Well, and a presser in Chapel Hill. And then I had camera issues. My card reader wasn't working. And then I had my laptop cord died and then laptop died. I had all kinds of crazy stuff going. Drove home in the middle of the night and instead of staying in the hotel working and all that kind of stuff. So people don't want to hear this junk. But we are looking for other sponsors. We're looking for a lot of
100%.
We got room on our site. We got room on these videos. You can specialize stuff. And we've got some new changes coming to THI as well, which we're really, really excited about. As Hubert, this is my second time I've said this today, but as Hubert would say, we're tweaking, altering, and pivoting with some stuff. So we're excited about that.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, people want to hear about football, so let's talk football.
Yeah, stay tuned for that, guys, as we're here for, again, like I said, Carolina football show, last one of the season. We're going to be previewing Carolina's Duke's Mayo Bowl matchup with West Virginia a little bit later as well. Stay tuned for that. We got a plethora of things to run through on our rundown, as we always do. So let's start with the bowl prep schedule. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so we got to look back a little bit. When did bowl prep start? I know Carolina players and coaches have been on the recruiting trail a lot. Players went home for a few days as well, met back in Charlotte recently. So what's the bowl prep schedule been like for the Tar Heels over the last couple of weeks?
They started, I'm trying to think of all these dates. Wednesday the 13th was the first practice. They practiced through the following Wednesday. I think they had 6 practices. And the players were released Wednesday to go home. and everyone was to reconvene in Charlotte. They weren't going to Chapel Hill and then going to Charlotte. They all just went to Charlotte. So no matter where they're from, they would just. Don Chapman went back to San Diego for 36 hours. He would report back in Charlotte, not Chapel Hill. So that was the schedule. They everyone's got together Friday in Chapel Hill, then practice Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, walk through Tuesday. So Saturday would be like Tuesday during game week because they're off on Mondays during game week. So Friday would be Monday. They get together. They're going to have their dinner and all the fun bowl stuff. Saturday would be like Tuesday. So Saturday practice, Sunday practice, Monday practice, and then Tuesday would be like Friday, be the walkthrough, and then Wednesday's the game. So they're going to get 10 practices in. I think they're allowed 13 now. They're going to get 10 practices in. That's 10 days that Connor Harrell would wake up in the morning knowing he was QB1 later that day in practice, which is an interesting thing. And it's certainly not business as usual. It hadn't been business as usual for him. So that's the schedule. And then game, of course, 5:30 on the 27th. Interesting start time, enough that people should be able to make the game and enough that people should have plenty of time to tailgate and do whatever they do when they tailgate and maybe get louder in their spirit or in their unhappiness. Who knows?
Yeah, really
play out during the game.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the crowd looks like. Again, we'll talk about the bowl game a little bit later on, but that's the schedule for that. Obviously, a lot of pregame pageantry and things that the team will be doing in the days leading up. Get a lot of freebies and goodies and stuff like that. So they'll definitely, be in Charlotte enjoying some time down there for a few days before the bowl game as well. But let's talk about a few players that are coming back but not playing in the bowl game, because that's really the story around this game right now is who's not playing because Carolina just has a wild list of players that will not be participating in this game. So just to name a few: John Copenhaver, Bryson Nesbitt, Zach Rice, Elijah Huzzy, Kobe Paysor, Will Hardy. That's just a list of guys right there that will be coming back as of right now, at least, and are not playing. But are not playing in the bowl game. Yeah, because of injuries or.
Yeah, even with Nesbitt, when we talked to on signing day, Pat Sudis, who's the assistant AD GM's director of player personnel, he was going over a couple of the tight ends that they signed in the class, and he mentioned something about Nesbitt coming back next year, and he's banged up right now. He and Copenhaver are banged up. Kamari Morales went in the portal. He's already at Boston College. And Julian Randolph, who's on scholarship, true freshman, was listed out for the season before the season started. So they have no scholarship tight ends available for the bowl game. So Deems May Jr., everyone knows his dad, he's going to be the starter. Court Halsey, whose mother's on the board of trustees, I think is the back. He's a true freshman. He's the backup.
Interesting.
So they have no experience there. It's going to be creative. We'll get into that a little bit later, but it's noteworthy not having someone like Huzzy, because they don't have Huzzy. Caleb Koss is a true freshman. He's going to get the start at Star. But they really like him. They were talking him up in August, and he's a name that I've heard come up quite a bit. So he's going to play. We're going to talk about the newbies as well, but I think not if they were to at least have either Nesbitt or Copenhaver, more so Copenhaver because the run blocking aspect. They'd be able to run the full offense, but we're going to see some tweaks because they don't have any tight ends.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously a big part of Carolina's offense too. So it's going to be interesting, really interesting to cover this game because of how many new faces there are. And again, how many key guys are missing for the Tar Heels on both sides of the ball, because it's quite a list. But you mentioned Caleb Koss. Let's talk about some new names to kind of watch in this bowl game, because again, I think if you're going to get anything out of this bowl game, it's looking ahead a little bit to next year with some of the guys that'll be playing. Obviously, Connor Harrell going to start at quarterback. Really big opportunity for him to kind of make a claim going into next year, maybe get out a little bit ahead of Max Johnson, who's coming in from Texas A&M. If he can have a positive game, maybe maybe it makes the offseason and going into next year a little bit more interesting. Caleb Koss, you mentioned, has looked the part when I've seen him on special teams a little bit and in some of the pregame warmups that I've seen him. Two-sport athlete as well, supposed to play baseball for the Tar Heels, so really talented athlete. Amari Campbell, seeing glimpses of him this year. He has played, out of everybody on this list, he's probably played the most, and that's not saying much because he hasn't played a lot, but he has seen some snaps at linebacker. And then Trey Miller, a name at defensive back that a lot of people haven't really heard of. I know there's a lot of Carolina fans out there like Trey Miller, who's that? Because a young guy in the DB room, expect him to get some playing time as well. So a lot of new names to watch. And like I said, that for me is the most interesting thing about this bowl game.
Yeah, Campbell played 70 snaps on defense. So if you Miller, Cost, and Harrell combined played 66.
Yeah, Campbell's leading the way.
Now, Cost did play 110 plays on special teams. So he's been on the field. He's hit. He knows the speed of the game now. And he's a really good athlete. As he said, he was a fantastic baseball player. Yep. In fact, when Gene Chizik, and I know people are down on Gene right now, but you should go back and watch the interview we did with him on Monday, because he was talking about these guys. He really went into a lot of detail of why he thinks Caleb Cost is going to be a fantastic player. And he spoke a lot about the baseball instincts, about tracking the ball and hand-eye coordination. So he's someone that when I've been at practice, he would run with the twos and he looked like he belonged out there. So now we're going to get a chance to see him play 65, 70, 75 snaps in the game. It's going to help him immensely going into next year. If he's someone that they can trust and can help them next year at star, and DeAndre Boykins comes back and is healthy, that allows them to move Huzzy back to the corner next year. And Huzzy is an NFL corner eventually. Mm-hmm. And that, imagine Huzzy with Marcus Allen. They've got some dudes over at corner as is, and Trey Miller's a corner who they wanted to get him on the field earlier this year, and the plan was to do that, but he got banged up. And Gene said every time it seemed like he was back and healthy and ready to throw out there in the field for a few reps just to see what he could do, he would get banged up again. Like the same thing would occur. So, but he is healthy now, and they want to see him. He's someone that they envision being in their plans in the future, maybe even the near future, depending on what happens at the star position with Huzzy. So I think people should be excited about seeing those guys. One of the things that I still like about bowl games, and if bowl games continue, a good reason they continue is because we get to see Campbell play. We get to see Miller and Cost and Harrell, and these guys get to get legitimate reps on film. That will help them toward next year. Remember, Power Eccles played in the bowl game 2 years ago, and that was his launching into the following season, helped him a lot. So huge. We can sit here and talk for a while about why the bowl games are going to die and why they don't matter, but we could also sit here and talk about stuff like this. And I think the good thing for Carolina is they have enough dudes that are out and enough new ones that are moving up that are kind of pushed up the pipeline. They're going to be ready to play. There's going to be an audition. Trey Miller, he's going to take those reps seriously. So will Campbell, and so will Caleb Cost, and obviously for Connor Harrell. The last time he played significant reps was in high school when he was winning state championships in Alabama at the highest level of Alabama. By the way, valedictorian, National Honor Society, smart kid. So I think that makes it fun and exciting. I think people should enjoy that. And I'm looking forward to getting used to what their body types are out like on the field. When you cover a team, Jacob, and you're in the press box, you tend to sort of get an idea of who's who just by looking. You don't have to see the number. You can see the way they move, mannerisms, stuff like that. So we get to begin the process of learning. I'll tell you what, I'm most excited about Caleb Cost, simply because I've seen Campbell play and I already know I have a feel for his game. I think he's going to be really, really good. But I think Cost is somebody that might explode onto the scene at some point in the next year, and Carolina fans all know who he is and all think of him in the same way they view someone like Rucker. I think that the potential is definitely there with Caleb Cost.
100%. And speaking of Rucker, we're recording this one on December 22nd, afternoon of December 22nd, a little bit earlier today. He did announce that he is returning to Carolina. I know it tricked a lot of people because you got to watch the whole video to realize he's actually coming back. But again, I tweeted it out, but that's positive news for North Carolina. Been one of Carolina's, if not their most consistent, besides Cedric Gray, defensive players really since he arrived on campus at Chapel Hill. He's been absolutely fantastic for the Tar Heels. So again, we're talking about a lot of guys that are leaving. I got a lot of new guys that are stepping up, but with Rucker playing in the bowl game as well, coming back, that's a big positive for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, 5.5 rating, low 3-star. I remember, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I talked to him the night he committed. He went on a visit on that Saturday, and he committed on Sunday night, Monday, basically. Yep. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll go. And people that was back when they were getting all those 4 stars and a couple 5s. They were getting all those Virginia kids. And everyone's like, oh, what do we need a guy like Rucker? Why are we taking Rucker? Why are we taking that guy? Look at what his star rating is. Look at his 5.5 or whatever it was. He was the 4th lowest rated guy in his class. Cedric Gray, by the way, was the 3rd lowest rated guy in his class. So the recruiting stuff matters. The rankings matter because there are very smart people at Rivals and the other networks that apply these rankings, but they're only for where those guys are at that point.
Yeah.
Has no bearing on what they become. And that's why fans shouldn't fixate so much on those things, because Kamen, based on recruiting ranking, never should have gotten on the field that much at Carolina, but he's a stud and he's going to play in the NFL. Exactly. Same thing with Cedric. So you're getting a 5.5 guy back for a 5th year. That's great. Because right now in college, I guess 6.1 would be 5-star. He's a 6.2.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. He's been really good, really fun to watch too for the Tar Heels, and smart kid as well. So good for the defense as a whole. Yeah, leader on that side of the ball as well. So yeah, and he's an example for a lot of these kids of, again, star rankings. Doesn't matter. I don't care if you come in a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star. If you work hard, you continue to develop, and you apply yourself correctly, you can become one of the top players, not only for Carolina, but in the ACC. Got a lot of love as well from some all ACC teams. So yeah, good to see him coming back and playing in the bowl game as well. He'll be a positive on that side of the ball. But let's talk real quickly before we dive into the West Virginia preview about some transfer pickups that Carolina's gotten so far. Again, we're recording this on Friday, December 22nd in the afternoon, so things can happen as soon as we hop off this. But as of right now, here's a list of guys that Carolina has gotten. Obviously, Max Johnson, the first one they landed, quarterback out of A&M. O-lineman Austin Blasky from Georgia, committed about a week ago. I believe it was last weekend. Tight end Jake Johnson a little bit earlier this week. Another guy from Texas A&M has announced it will be coming to North Carolina. And then another one that kind of maybe some people maybe went under the radar a little bit with, JUCO DB Tyrone Stewart will be coming to Carolina as well. So I know it's a little bit different with JUCO in terms of transfer portal, but again, looking at these 4 guys that Carolina has landed so far, I think early on in the portal, because it's still early, I think Carolina fans should be feeling pretty good about how this list is stacking up. And again, just look at what Carolina did in the portal last year. We talked so much about it, how a lot of Carolina's best players on either side of the ball this year were guys that they picked up in the portal. So I think you got to give this coaching staff a lot of trust and a lot of credit based on what they did last year in terms of landing guys in the portal. And again, doing some business early, which I think is a positive as well.
Yeah, the junior college transfers technically count as the recruiting class of 24. So Stewart was one of the 27 on Wednesday. I found out about him on Monday or Tuesday. Reached out to him. He kind of said he was committing, but then said I'm not going to go all the way. I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm not telling you for sure it's North Carolina, but we kind of knew. And I got some other confirmation on that.
Interesting.
And what's interesting is that he's a guy that played a lot this year in one of the best junior college programs in the country at East Mississippi. And I think that the appeal to him is that he's very aggressive. He's physical, and he's hungry. They like bringing in hungry guys. And the junior college thing, he's graduating from junior college. He's a good student. So sometimes the JC guys are hard to get into schools, especially like North Carolina. It's not an issue. The second JC guy they've had in a while, Ray Vahasek, was a JC guy. Turned out real well. He got his degree. So the academics are not really a thing. And he went JC not because of grades. He went JC because he didn't get any offers out of high school.
Oh, wow.
But let's remember, Elijah Huzzy didn't either, really. Very few.
It's true.
Cole Holcomb had none. And Cole's in the NFL.
Yeah, making a pretty good living, yeah.
Yeah, people love to judge, but let's see what this guy can bring. The fact that they were well aware of him and had him scouted out for a while tells you how extensive the process is behind the scenes in the program and in all programs, but certainly in there. So I think that's kind of cool they brought him in. Jake Johnson caught 25 or 26 balls for Texas A&M this year. He's a big physical guy. They'll have 3 tight ends they can use next year. Randolph should be healthy. They're bringing in a couple of freshmen. A lot of tight ends in that room. That's a popular room right now. You got a former NFL head coach in the room, and you've had success in that room. John Lilly did a nice job. Now Freddie Kitchen's doing a good job. They're going to turn out some NFL dudes. So I think that's a really good room. I also believe that with the kinds of players they have, and they're getting a Johnson in there, a second more prototype of Copenhagen as opposed to Nesbitt, speaks to my belief that I think they're going to go a little bit more ball control, a little bit more power run, a little bit more intended balance, and trying to keep the defense off the field a little bit more than has been the case in the past. The Baskey, the offensive lineman from Georgia, was a pretty highly regarded kid coming out of high school. Played some, didn't play a ton, but he's got 2 rings. Can't take the ring away.
Injuries too. I know he had some injuries at Georgia as well. Yeah,
he had some injuries, and he's got winning culture stuff. He might even be married, maybe.
Interesting.
I think so. I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that. But when I was trying to get some intel on him, I was told that he's extremely mature. And that he's a guy that knows what he wants, and he's got a lot of potential, and he could be someone that steps in and starts. The injuries were an issue. Plus, he's playing at Georgia.
Yeah,
it's like he's getting beaten out by Andy Jones from Fort Hunt High School in 1980, whatever, right? I'm not giving that away. It's not like that. So. No. So I think that's a nice pickup, and people want an O-lineman, and he's also inexpensive. O-linemen are very expensive. He's inexpensive. And then Max Johnson, we talked about him before. I think what you're seeing here with the 4 they brought in, they will bring in some more. Jake Johnson and Max Johnson are brothers. Mm-hmm. Their dad, Brad Johnson, played 15 years in the NFL. They got plenty of cash. That didn't cost Carolina a lot of money. Stewart didn't cost them anything coming from JC. And Baskey essentially didn't really cost them anything either. So Carolina hasn't really spent in the portal yet, which is good. So there's going to be more activity because there are going to be some more kids that enter the portal after the bowl game. And I think you'll see Carolina make some moves. There'll be strategical moves, and there'll be moves that are in concert with the collective playing its role as well. And they still have that to play with. So I actually think they're sitting in a pretty nice position because there's a ton of kids out there in the portal that haven't committed anywhere yet. So they're going to have an opportunity to sell to a couple of kids some good stuff and have a little bit of cash behind it as well. They're not going to promise the cash, but the kids will have the understanding that collective money will be there. So I don't have a problem with what they've done in the portal so far. A lot of people are getting anxious about it. Say, well, they've lost 18 kids. They only brought in 4. So what? The process isn't over yet. Let it play out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It'll be interesting to continue to follow as well because the offseason is so fascinating, especially this time of year with the portal, people entering and people leaving. And of course, Carolina will definitely be getting some more guys in the portal as well. So as always, keep it locked to TarLillustrated.com and you'll be the first to know once those guys land. If you want a premium subscription as well, just $8.33 a month. We do post a lot of stuff in the boards, particularly around the portal that doesn't always make it on the front page. So again, links in the description. Another great reason to sign up. Just thought I'd throw that in there real quick because the portal is a massive plus. If you are a premium subscriber, you get a lot more information on the board. So AJ, Duke's Mayo Bowl preview time. Last preview of the season. Carolina versus West Virginia, December 27th, 5:30 p.m. Kickoff in Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte on ESPN. Interesting that the season starts in Charlotte with a win. Can it end in Charlotte with a win? I think that's the question mark for the Tar Heels going into this one. Just a little information real quickly on West Virginia. It finished 8-4, 6-3 in the Big 12, 4th place in the Big 12. Not a bad finish at all when you look at that conference. Have a handful of guys in the portal right now. Maybe not as many key players as the Tar Heels have missing, but there are a few guys that will not be playing in this bowl game, either that are in the portal or injured. So a few guys just to read off real quick. Leading rusher C.J. Donaldson not playing. Believe that's through injury. Center Zach Frazier had surgery, will miss the bowl game. And a couple guys on defense as well. Just defensive line Mike Lockhart actually tied for second in sacks right now for West Virginia. He's not playing. And then safety Hershey McLaurin. Heck of a name right there. I do like that one. Finished with 44 tackles on the season. He will not be playing in the bowl game as well. So those are just a few guys for West Virginia, that key guys that they will be missing. Again, not as extensive as Carolina's list when you just look at the sheer amount of starters that will not be playing for the Tar Heels. And even like we've talked about in here, a lot of backup guys as well, particularly at that tight end position. So it's an interesting matchup. I think West Virginia is probably going into it a little bit more towards full strength. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of West Virginia. I tried to find as much information as I could on guys that aren't playing, but from the research I did, it doesn't seem like they're missing as many key guys, and maybe going into the bowl game feeling a little bit better about themselves than Carolina finished the regular season, to say the least. But I think this is the number one thing, AJ. This is what we hit on. I think this is the message to fans going into the bowl game. You touched on it. There's so many new faces now. There's so many guys that are going to be relied on and playing big minutes and big snaps in this bowl game that have not played a lot this season. You can look at it and say, well, okay, there's a lot of lack of experience going into the bowl game. But like you mentioned, you can also look at it, and I lean more towards this of like, well, this is a proving ground and a proving opportunity for a lot of these guys. So you'd expect them to take this game a little bit more seriously. One of the fascinating things I find about bowl games is more often than not, it tends to be a blowout one side or the other, because one team's prepared and locked in and another team's checked out and not focused. I don't lean towards that as much with Carolina now than maybe I would if it was just a bunch of starters playing in the same kind of team. Yeah. And I'm basing that a lot on how Carolina finished the season, and especially what I saw in Raleigh, because it was an embarrassing performance to say the least. But now when you've got these backup guys, you got guys that have a chance to prove themselves and maybe push themselves ahead in the rotation heading into the offseason and into spring practice and into ultimately next season. I think it makes this bowl game a little bit more interesting to watch. And honestly, I think it gives the Carolina, in a weird way, maybe a better opportunity to win this game. I didn't pick them to win it in my prediction. Still not confident in that. But I think it makes it a little bit more interesting of a bowl game to watch. Do you agree with that? And what's your thoughts going into this matchup for North Carolina?
I think the spirit should be pretty good. They should be ready to play. But I think West Virginia's going to be ready to play as well. Yeah. West Virginia finished above expectations. Carolina finished below expectations. And both teams closed the seasons differently. West Virginia wants that 9th win. I think that what I've gotten, and I've talked to a couple people that cover West Virginia, and we did a 5 questions with Keenan Cummings, who covers West Virginia, and we ran that Friday morning on our site. They're much more intact. They have their quarterback, Garrett Green. Yep. That's a huge plus right there. They're missing a couple starters. Carolina's missing starters too. Carolina's missing a lot of reserves that really weren't going to play much anyway. I actually think defensively, outside of the Mary Campbell spot and Caleb Cost, you've got starters. You've got veterans. You got Marcus Allen and Chapman at corner. You've got Don Chapman and Stick Lane starting at safety with Gio Biggers in there. Defensive front are all veteran guys that have been around. No one's Kamen's going to be there. Amari Gaynor's still there. So it's not like they're going to have to rely on Tyler Thompson or Jabron Harvey to get a lot of snaps there. Carolina's pretty intact on defense. It's offense with the quarterback situation. They lost some receivers and the tight end being depleted. That's where they have an issue. Running back's what the running back room is. Willie Lampkin moves over to center, but he was Sun Belt Conference Offensive Lineman of the Year in 2022 as a center at Coastal Carolina. So Carolina is not as depleted in the first 22 as it may seem like, because there's a lot of more numbers of guys that have left. But a lot of the guys that left weren't going to play anyway. Petaway wasn't going to play. Elijah Green wasn't going to play. And this is no disrespect to them. It's just the way things are. A lot of these guys weren't going to get on the field and play. So I think it's a little bit more even in that sense. So the question is, what team is more inspired? What team's more ready to play? I think West Virginia absolutely will be ready to play. They're taking this very seriously. I don't know how much North Carolina's going to be ready to play, because the last time they played a bowl game in that building, they were awful. I think this team's going to be more ready to play than they were then. But you could be as ready to play as possible. And when you roll a backup like Connor Harrell out there at quarterback, that will ultimately determine whether Carolina has a chance to win or not. Harrell has to play really well for them to win. If he doesn't play well, then they have no chance of winning. That's the bottom line. There are a million other variations to the game as well, but Harrell hasn't played much. So he's going to be out there. He's going to have West Virginia defense staring right at him when he goes out for the first snap and the second snap and the third snap. How does he handle those things? That's ultimately going to be the key here. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I'm looking forward to newness. I love newness. And then, like I said earlier, there's some guys we get to watch play a lot that we haven't really seen before. And as far as Harrell beginning the competition process with Johnson, absolutely. I wouldn't just pencil Max in as a starter right now. I think he will be the starter.
Yeah.
I think the pencil is not far from the paper, but Connor may have something to say about that Wednesday night. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, we will, man. We definitely will. That's what you want. You want competition at spots. I mean, that's what brings out the best in people. You don't want Mac Johnson coming in like, well, I'm starting because there's nobody here. Harrell has a good game that makes the offseason much more interesting. It makes Max Johnson have to come in with maybe a little bit more pep in his step, a little more attention to detail, and a little bit more of a competitive edge to say, okay, I got to earn this spot. I know I'm supposed to be a starter and I came here to be a starter, but the way Harrell played, man, I got to bring my A game every day, or maybe I won't be starting or playing much here at North Carolina. So yeah, I think that the fact that Carolina has so many new guys playing could breed a lot of competition in the offseason with some of these starters return and are healthy again. Maybe they're looking over their shoulder a little bit like, man, he played pretty well against West Virginia. I got to bring it every day. That's what you want inside a program. You don't just want guys guaranteed starters with no competition behind them. You need competition at spaces. That brings out the best in players, and it separates, others from the rest. So I think that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on going into this matchup. But AJ, real quick, prediction time. I said 34-24 West Virginia. I always say it. I look a lot into what's happened, the way Carolina ended the year. I was on the field at State for that performance. If you think I'm picking Carolina to win after watching that performance, watching how they finished the year and seeing who's not playing in this bowl game, yeah, I'd be hard pressed to do that. So do I think Carolina has a shot at winning this game? Absolutely. And that's what happens in bowl games. They're toss-ups. You really never know what's going to happen. They're so hard to predict. But I'm going to say 34-24. I think it's a competitive game. I think it's a good game to watch, but I think West Virginia is just coming in, like you said, a little bit more full strength, a little bit more pep in their step, one to finish with that 9th win. I think that can maybe propel them over the line a little bit. So that's my prediction for this game. What's your thoughts on it?
I hope you don't bet on bowl games, because I would never associate with how a team played its last game with how it might play in the bowl game. I've heard
bowl games are the hardest to bet on, and I 100% believe that. They're really hard to bet on. You just never know. You really don't.
It's kind of like the NCAA tournament with the upset stuff. It's the person in the office wins the tournament poll because they voted for teams. They picked teams that they thought had cool names, and then next thing you know, they win the pool. Mm-hmm. Bowl games are the sense that we could judge Carolina on how they looked last time we saw them, but I think it's a different club. It's like new one-game season. So Carolina has to stop the run. I said a few minutes ago, Connor has to play well. He absolutely does. They also have to stop the run. West Virginia is the number 3 rushing offense in the country. Carolina has to stop the run. Carolina is near the bottom of the nation, giving up, I think they're 118th in giving up first downs. They've got to get the defense off the field. The defense can help itself by getting some more stops and getting on the field, forcing the opponent to punt the ball or even kick field goals at times. Those things have to happen for Carolina to win. But stopping the run is going to be enormous, because West Virginia has a few guys that can run the ball, including the quarterback. Garrett Green can move. He's a decent passer, not a great passer, but he's played better late in the season. Mm-hmm. He can move, man. They got a lot of dudes that can run the ball, and they like to run it. They can be physical. They can go spread things out with the run game. They can do a lot of different things, and Carolina's going to have to be physical. They got to be, I say it every week, excellent in pre-snap, physical on the snap, read and react properly, physical when bringing a guy to the earth. Bring him down to the soil. Yep. And that's what they need to be. So I think ultimately this game's going to be won or lost based on how Carolina handles West Virginia's run game. If the Tar Heels keep them at 120 yards, 130 yards or less, Heels going to win this game. If it's for over 170, 180, and West Virginia averages more than that, then I think the Tar Heels have a tough time winning this game.
Yeah. Last thing, real quickly, I just thought of this too. I just want to ask you this real quick, and we're headed out. How important is it for the Mac Brown in particular, 1-3 at bowl games since he returned to North Carolina? Last time they played in this bowl game, they got curve stomped by South Carolina. It looked like they didn't want to be there. How important, tough competitive game in the Orange Bowl, but lost. Competitive game last year against Oregon, but lost in that, kind of last second drive fashion that it has been an unfortunate theme for this defense. How important is it him for win this bowl game, or is it when you're looking at personnel and who's not playing and everything that's going on, does it not really matter? What's your take on that?
By the way, this is the first time Carolina begins and ends the season playing in Charlotte in their football history. I think the fans are what the fans are. So if they win, well, West Virginia was depleted and they're really not that good. Big 12's not that great. And if they lose, well, there's more reason for Grandpa Mac to get fired, that kind of stuff. That's the way fans are going to look at it. I think it's really important this team goes into an offseason with a win. They have not gone into an offseason coming off a victory since his first year when they routed Temple in the Military Bowl. They need to get a win, get a ninth win. I'm going to write a column here in the next couple of days where the winning in the ninth is really important. 2 years in a row at 9 wins. It's not 10. It's not quite what their goal was, but getting 9 wins 2 years in a row, given the fact that it hadn't happened since Mac was last at Carolina a quarter century ago, I think it matters. I think this is a great opportunity. Both teams are going for 9 wins. That's important in both programs. And I think that should fuel the Tar Heels. I know the staff will be fueled by it. That should fuel them. They have a chance to pick up a 9th win. And people are complaining right now. And they had 5 wins, total wins, 2 seasons before Mac took over. Getting a 9th win for the second straight year. If you look at the 5-year snapshot, first year, change of course, pick up a big bowl win. Second year, Orange Bowl. Third year, step back. Fourth year, 9 wins. Fifth year, 9 wins. Fourth year, get to play in the ACC championship. Fifth year, 9 wins. It's not a terrible tenure. It's not a terrible tenure at all. And it's a tenure that has made some progress. I think this year they didn't reach their goals. It's probably 2 out of 3 you could say they didn't reach their goals. But if you don't reach your goals and still get 9 wins, that means the program's in a decent spot. If people are pissed and you win 9 games, it means the program's made a lot of progress because the expectations are high because what they've done has helped elevate expectations. No one got mad at if Larry would have won 7 or 8 and 17 or 18. No one would have been mad about that because their expectations weren't what they are now. Yeah. And expectations are there because of what they've done. So I hope that didn't sound too convoluted, but I think my point is made.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree with what you're saying. Really nice to win that 9th game. I think it's important for a number of different reasons. And again, we'll see what happens on Wednesday evening or late afternoon. I guess it's dark at 5 o'clock now, so we'll say evening.
It's a night game.
Yeah, in Bank of America Stadium. But yeah, AJ, let's go ahead and get the heck out of here. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. For everyone that's watched the UNC football show throughout the season, we started this a long time ago. It feels like, before the first game of the season in Charlotte, funny enough, against South Carolina. We appreciate the support. We appreciate y'all watching. As always, make sure you like the video. Make sure you share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe. If you haven't subscribed by now and you've watched all these UNC football shows, what are you doing? Just subscribe. So take the middleman out a little bit and hit that notification bell too. So you know every single time I have it on mine. You get a phone notification every single time we upload. Click on the video. Bang, it's playing. Makes it a lot easier and a lot easier to stay in the loop at TarHeelIllustrated.com. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Again, we appreciate y'all's support and we'll see y'all next time. Thanks.
Thanks.